Most DIY campervan builds lose thousands before they even start, and usually it comes down to a few bad decisions right in the beginning. The wrong van, the wrong layout, the wrong priorities, and once those are locked in place, everything starts getting very expensive. So in this video, I'm going to point out the 5 DIY campervan decisions that are going to help you save money and avoid costly mistakes before your build even gets underway. The first decision, and probably the one that's going to shape your whole budget, is choosing the right base van. These are primarily the vehicles we build into. We've got the MAN all-wheel drive, we've got the VW Crafter front-wheel drive, we've got the Mercedes Sprinter rear-wheel drive. These are all available in the long wheelbase and medium wheelbase. We build into both. If you're looking for something smaller, then you've got the VW Transporter. This is a T6.1 model. The T7's now out as well, but undecided as to what to think about that yet. The jury's still out. Now, we put out a video a couple of weeks ago where we discussed base vehicles and what to look for, and that was really aimed at people with a huge budget. But the reality is that for most people, they don't start with a huge budget when they enter the campervanning world. Now, for me myself, my very first campervan was a VW T4. When I bought it, it was about 16 years old and it cost $4.5 grand, and that was a fully fitted camper. I've bought loads and loads of campervans over the years, maybe 30 or 40, T4s, T5s, T6s, and certainly with the older vehicles, some of them were absolutely excellent and ran great for years and years, and some of them were absolute dogs, caused us nothing but problems. So there's lots that you need to look out for, especially when you're buying a second-hand vehicle that has some age and has some miles behind it. So let's look at those important things you need to look for when you're buying a second-hand van. The big 3 that I would always check is you want to check the mileage against the MOTs to make sure that the vehicle's not been clocked. You should be able to see a steady progression throughout those MOTs over the years. You certainly don't want to see that mileage going down. The next thing to check is, does it have a timing belt replacement? Each vehicle is different as to when that needs to be replaced. Sometimes it's with miles, sometimes it's with years, but that's going to be a very heavy repair cost. And if you don't get it repaired and it goes wrong, it could be a whole engine replacement, which is a disaster for your budget. Next up, I would say would be rust, body condition. Now, this is something that engines can be replaced, work can be done on this after you've done your conversion, but with rust, if you've got rust in your panels, it can make it very difficult to do the repairs properly. It's very difficult to weld in a vehicle when the panels are filled with insulation, and sometimes you end up having to remove some parts of the interior to then get in and do those repairs, and that's all going to eat into your budget. As for the spec of the vehicle, if you're buying a used van, then you probably don't want to be paying for items that aren't going to end up in your final conversion layout. So I would stay away from people carriers, because you're probably going to end up paying for second and third row seats that are just going to be ripped out because you're not going to have them in your conversion. It's probably going to be interior panels. They're going to just be behind your kitchen. You might even have floor rails for sliding seats. They're going to be ripped out for your campervan 4. If your budget extends to a new van, then you want to eliminate that bulkhead, and you probably don't want to have rear windows as well, just to open your possibilities for your own conversion. If you're looking to extend your budget, then it's maybe worthwhile asking, does it need to be a 4x4? Does it need to be an automatic? Or would a front-wheel drive manual suffice? Now that you've chosen the van, the next big decision is going to be layout, because there's no point in spending a load of your hard-earned cash into a camper van that you just don't enjoy using. So before you decide on the size of the bed or where the cupboards are going to go in the kitchen, you want to actually decide on how you're going to use the van. Are you going to be in it just for weekends? Are you going to be in it for extended travel? Are you going to want a rear lounge area where you can come and sit and have a kind of panoramic view around about on a rainy day? Or are you mostly going to be doing warm travel where you're going to be outside the vehicle and therefore maybe don't need as much inside space and would prefer to have more storage in the form of a garage? You want to think about all your equipment that you're going to need. You want to think about bikes. Are you going to be able to sleep at night knowing your $5 grand mountain bike is parked outside? Or are you going to want to know that that's tucked up to bed underneath you as you sleep? Are you going to have space for your stand-up paddle boards? Are you going to want to deflate them and store them into the garage? Are you going to want to have exterior storage options as well, perhaps on the roof rack or on the back doors of the van? A good thing to do quite often is to tape out the whole environment inside of the back of the camper and then walk through the actual area, testing where your storage is going to be, testing where your bed's going to be, where your seats are going to be. Is there enough movement in and out of those areas for you to live in there comfortably? And the most important advice I can probably give is, before you really commit to a layout, is to go and rent a van with a similar layout to what you're looking to choose, and then test it in real environment. Take it out, go camping for the weekend, pack it full of all your stuff and see, is this going to work for me and my family? Is there going to be enough space? Is there things that we don't want to compromise on? And iron these issues out before you commit your money to building that van and that layout. The conversion we're currently building for this couple is their own specific layout. built around their needs. So they wanted to have the rear lounge, they wanted to be able to sit comfortably in their van for extended periods of time should the weather not be good. They'd had this kind of layout before, so they have tried it, and the things that they didn't like was they didn't want to lift the cushions and get everybody out in order to access their clothes. They were much more happy to exit the vehicle and have pull-out slides from the back to go and get their gear. They also wanted interior cupboards, so they've got a huge wardrobe there beside the fridge, and they've got some space in the overhead gantries for smaller items. They've got a shoebox cupboard in the front here because they take hiking boots and they take up a lot of space. But most importantly, they have a dog kennel at the front here for their small dog. And they wanted to make sure that that was going to be comfortable, that it's going to be well ventilated, and it's not going to be near any heat sources, so that they can have them in there for longer periods without it being an issue. Now this layout will work for some, it won't work for others, but we know that it's going to work for this couple because they've tried it, they've tested it, and they've tweaked it to suit their every need, so that it's going to be absolutely perfect for what they want. Now that you've bought a van, planned your layout, it's time to work out what order you're going to carry out your build, because getting that wrong means double work, wasted materials, time and money. Number 1, cutting out windows, ventilation, skylights and roof hatches. Now this is the messy part of the job, so you want to get all of these cut out and get all that metal filings blown out of the van before you start building anything into the vehicle. Number 2, we're going to make it watertight, so we're going to fit our windows, we're going to fit our hatches, we're going to be able to take it out of the workshop or out of the garage and park it on the drive while you carry out the rest of the build. Number 3 is soundproofing and insulation. Now you want it to be quiet and you want it to be warm. Number 4 is first fix electrics and plumbing. Now getting this in place just now is going to save a big headache later on. Number 5 is the floor, the ceiling and the wall lining. Now this is where the van really starts to take shape. Number 6 is building and fitting your furniture. This is what's really going to define your space. Number 7, we've got appliances and second fix electrics and services. Now this is what's going to make your van function. So it's important to point out that this is just a simple structure. It's not all encompassing, and a lot of the points will overlap each other. You'll go back and revisit other ones. There'll be things that you've forgotten, and there'll be a lot of things that you want to fit in your van that will fall into both categories, and they'll need to be dry fitted, taken back out, and then refitted afterwards. This is just to give you a simple structure that you can use to help you build your van at home. Now that we've discussed the necessities for your build, it's time to discuss the wants. What's on your wish list? Now another great way of saving money is to build your van in stages. Not everything needs to come at the one time. And top of everybody's wish list is usually a set of alloys. Now these are the Swamper style alloys. These are Rogue's CC1s, and they're on a set of BF Goodrich KO2s. Now you could argue that these are practical as well as just for external appearance, because these are going to help dig you out the campsite when it's been raining all weekend. So these are probably top of the list for the wants not needs. Next on the wish list is an awning. Now we had a comment on a previous video that real van lifers don't use awnings, and I just don't think that's true at all. Now if you're living in the UK, possibly I could see that, but if you're heading to sunnier climes at all, then this is an absolute no-brainer. It shields you from the weather, good and bad, so it effectively doubles the size of your living space, gives you somewhere to sit, but also somewhere to store items outside without having to worry about the weather. Now a good quality expedition roof rack can be a great addition to a vehicle heading out adventures like this one. But if you have the roof rack, you're also going to have the access in the form of a ladder to get you up there. Now both of those items together, that's a chunky bit of change that you could be saving. So you probably want to move that to the back of your wish list if you're on a tight budget. Now something like this nudge bar here, it's really just about the look. It helps the van look kind of chunky and aggressive. It is going to help in the event of a collision or in case you did nudge something, but really it's just about the way it looks. So maybe it can move its way to the back of the wish list. Something like this can easily be retrofitted once the whole conversion is finished. There's always some great savings to be had when it comes to the materials that you're going to use to build your conversion. So if weight isn't going to be an issue, depending on what vehicle you're converting into, then you might want to consider using more standard materials to build your furniture rather than the kind of lightweight garnica ply that we use in our builds. You could use standard plywood, for instance. That would add a certain amount of weight, but it would be an awful lot cheaper. The garnica ply can be running up to £220 for a sheet for an 8x4. So it's a big expense, and if you can find an alternative, then that would obviously be a great saving. Similarly with the exterior options for your vehicle, like rear wheel carriers, the ladders, roof racks, if you can have them made in steel rather than aluminium, then there's a massive saving to be had there. It's a much cheaper material and the construction's an awful lot easier. When we build our kitchens, we use a substance called solid surface. We use Star-On and Creon and Corian. It comes under lots of different names. It's a very hard wearing resin infused mineral, and it's 100% waterproof, it's very, very scratch resistant. It's a great countertop material to use on your kitchen, but that's not the only material you can use. You could have a solid woodwork top if weight isn't an issue, or you could just make it out of the same furniture board that you've done out of your cabinets. We did that for years with our transporter conversions. It doesn't last as long, they're not 100% waterproof, but certainly if you're on a budget or if you're building a smaller vehicle, it might be a very good option for you. One thing you want to be asking yourself as well, if the budget is really tight, do all your appliances need to be brand new? There's some awfully good deals to be had on eBay and Facebook and other sites, even down to the likes of insulation. An awful lot of people, when they're buying for their build, will buy far too much material and be left with surplus, and that quite often ends up on these sites, so there's some real savings to be had there. Now, one thing you want to ask yourself as well is, does everything need to be a completely luxury finish? So do the walls need to be clad in Alcantara, or would a standard carpet lining do? There's loads of materials choices you can have that are so much more cheaper. The Alcantara is very, very expensive, and it's a big part of the build budget. It really comes down to the biggest saving being in the designing of the van. You want to take your time. If you can use CAD, then that's a great tool to your disposal to use. It allows you to get precise measurements for your vehicle, so it then means when you are buying materials, you have precise measurements. You're not going to be overspending on the initial material there. And it also means that there's not going to be much less waste as well, so you're not really throwing money away in that aspect. For years we've been using SketchUp, which is a free bit of software. It's relatively limited, the free option, but it's more than enough for what you'd need to design a camper van. It's done us for a number of years, until very recently when we started designing our own components. But certainly for creating your layout and designing your build, it would be more than sufficient. It's not only the raw materials like plywood that you can buy from the housing industry rather than the leisure vehicle industry. You can also look at your fixtures and fittings. We buy an awful lot of our hardware. Instead of using the corner blocks that are designed for camper vans, instead of buying the taps and the hardware and the handles that are designed for the leisure vehicle industry, we buy them that are designed for furniture or for houses. They're harder wearing, quite often easier and better to use, quite often styled a little bit better. They do add a little bit of extra weight because they're perhaps not made of ABS and made of brass instead, but it's a very small amount over the top, over the stretch of a full camper van, and it will give you a better quality product and also save you an awful lot of money. So there's little tweaks that you can make when it comes to buying the parts and the materials that go into your build that over the course of a whole camper van build can amount to a big amount of money. So you've bought your van, you've designed your layout, you've built and fitted your camper van interior, you spent a lot of money, and now is the time to secure it. So there's traditional securing items like steering wheel locks, you can get actual wheel locks, you can get pads to go on the sides of the van to stop them from punching your locks, but really what it's going to come down to is a tracker and a mobiliser. Now, if your vehicle is over the value of £75,000, your insurance is pretty much going to mandate that you have one of these, otherwise you're going to find it very difficult to find an insurance provider. Now, this is going to be hidden somewhere in the vehicle, it's going to be attached onto the electrics of the van, it's going to run all the time in the background, and it's going to stop somebody from being able to steal your vehicle without the little key fob. Now, this is a Scorpion 5 that we fit. They also do the 5 Plus, which comes with an immobiliser. They also do the Scorpion X series, and that allows you to configure the buttons and switches that are already in your van to create a unique code to disable that tracker and immobiliser. Now, this little piece of kit means that if somebody did manage to steal it off your front drive and take it away, you can turn the vehicle off, stop it from restarting. You can also contact them and they'll be able to do it remotely. You can also track where the vehicle's gone and get it returned to you in the event of a theft. And at the end of the day, it's this little piece of equipment that's probably going to let you have a decent night's sleep knowing that your van's safe and sound. So it's very worthwhile to secure your financial investment. As it often is in life, the best way to save money is to really just do your research, and the best way to do that in the camper van industry is to go and rent a vehicle before you commit to buying. If you've got friends or family that have vans, you could always borrow from them, but there's also sites that you can go into where you can rent out privately owned motorhomes and camper vans, and that will give you a much better idea of the layouts that you're looking for. It tends to be with companies that are renting out campers, they'll have the same van over and over, so you're kind of limited to what you can take. But with sites like GoBooney and Camplify, you can actually go and rent a vehicle from private owners, so every single vehicle will be completely different. And you can scan through those until you see one that matches the kind of layout that you're considering. Then it's a really good idea to go and rent it out just for a couple of nights. Go and test it, fill it with all your gear, take it out, go camping, and that will give you an idea, is this layout good for me and my family? Does it work for us? Does it tick all the boxes? Because it's a really good idea to find out right now before you commit your hard-earned money into your own camper van, because at that point it's very difficult to go back and change things. If you can iron out any issues just now, then you can always change your layout and know that when you come to build your campervan build, you're coming at it from a position of confidence. So hopefully we've managed to help save you a few pennies there with this video. If you check out our other videos, you'll find some more helpful tips and tricks on how to build your own DIY campervan. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and thanks very much for watching.